Great defeaters, new and old, welcome to a spicy episode of The Breakdown with your host, BaseDaKID, Dani Go to the Cards Glover. And we are the children of the game. Now, Dani, usually I ask how your weekend's been, but at this point in time, I don't particularly care because I had a great weekend, my friend.
I think
It
you
was
know how
good.
my weekend went. It didn't go too well.
That's why I was trying to save you that one. But look, ultimately, yeah, I had a great weekend. Watched a lot of action from Friday to Saturday. All the way through. Made a nice chunk of money. I know you're gonna be sipping on that goulash in about 3 weeks, and I did say I hope it's lumpy on IG, but I retract that. Listen, I just hope it's runny. That's what I'm gonna give you on the goulash. But yeah, how did your week go?
Yeah, well, we had a good week starting off on Tuesday. Thank you for reminding me because I thought it was going to be Wednesday in Inoue-Fulton, so that was a good fight. Um, yeah, the cards was good over the weekend. Obviously, the main event didn't go how I expected it to go. That was very bad. I've lost money, so I'm upset. But I guess I'll try some Polish goulash and see what that's like, and maybe some cheap vodka, I guess. It won't be the Belvedere, unfortunately.
Well, when the next big one, the next big event happens, I'm sure I will give you opportunity to win your money back. We will see how that goes. But for right now, we've got a very long show ahead of us. I'm sure we're gonna be hitting close to an hour and a half, 2 hours, because there is a lot to discuss. I want to start off just by letting everyone know who's in the chat already. I'll get to highlighting you guys in a moment because there is so much action to go through. There was three very good cards on this weekend. No, four very good cards, and ultimately, like, we're gonna have to try and plow through as much of it as possible, so there won't be as much interaction with the chat as usual. But I will salute and acknowledge people as and when I can when I do see them. Now, Tony sent me a bunch of footage to cobble together, like to talk through some of these fights. But Tony don't have the best recording skills, so I thought, now let me save you lot from that, and it would have taken me way too long to do the editing. So we're gonna do this one like the regular podcast. No clips or anything. We're just gonna talk through everything. So I hope that's all right with everyone. I know it's a big week, but yeah, that's how we kind of just gonna have to break this one down. But before anything, all right, so big ups to the people that are here first. You'd have to get the shout out. So Michael Januario showing us #1. So big ups to you. Dan the man, yes, my guy Dan, the #1 hardest working guy on Twitter. Big up to you. And then we got Bigsy Biggs. He said, Base, got any venom today or you get all that yesterday? You wanted all the smoke. Look, I've still got some for today, but I'm in the professional mode, so it won't be of the same vim as last time. Shout outs to Hot Pies, always in the place. Muller, big ups to you. Jam Down 187. Manners and respect every time, even though I know you think it's no manners and respect right now. Jonah 31, big up to you. Hot Pies, big up to you. I know you was also a big Spence fan, but it is what it is. You live and you learn. And man, like more photos, Lewis Moore, big up to you. He's If you've never seen Lewis's photos, like, trust me, they are sick. If you go on more photos on Twitter, you'll see some of the shots he's taken. Alexander Usyk used one of his shots the other day. He's an incredible camera guy. So yeah, make sure if you get a chance, shout him out. And Skyliner, the editor, big up to you every single time as well. All right, so we're gonna jump straight into it. We're gonna talk. I see Dark Side of the Moon. Yep, Dark Side of the Moon just popped in, so shout out to you also. Big up. Right, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back all the way to Tuesday because that's basically where a lot of this started, especially where a lot of the pound for pound stuff started talking about. Where we saw Stephen Fulton take on Naoya Inoue. Now, obviously, we spoke briefly about just the overall view of it last week, but now we're going to actually get into the minutiae and the details and break it down of what we enjoyed about both guys' performances. So With that being said, Danny, I'm gonna let you lead this one off, and then I'll follow on from that.
Yep. So round one, Inoue was doing a lot of his knee dips, bending his knee feints, trying to get Fulton to bite. And he won the first round. He was using his jab well. The fight didn't really start to pick up until the fourth. Fulton boxed well. Because Inoue, he won the first three, kind of like just dominating, pushing him back, using 1-2s, 1-2-3s. Fulton boxed well in the fourth. Good jabs, landed a good 1-2. Inoue started to miss his shots a bit, but his higher work rate and landed a good 1-2-1 combination that kind of Bivol shot the 1-2-1 straight. But I gave the fourth round to Fulton. The fifth, Inoue picked up the pace, came out blazing first minute. Fulton landed a big jab right hand, so a big 1-2. Inoue took it flush and well. Inoue moved, closed the gap, maintained front foot pressure on Fulton. The sixth round, Fulton on the front foot pressure, making Inoue throw so he can counter. Good head and lateral movement, out jabbing Inoue, and good body shot. Inoue landed a decent 1-2 left hook. Fulton taking it to Inoue. Last 20 seconds out of the round, landed, even though he shipped a big right hand, which momentarily moved him back, but I gave him the sixth. The seventh, Inoue, good work rate, but Fulton hit him with a big right hand that got his attention, knocking his head back. Inoue pressing forward, working his combinations, jab, left hook, right hand. Fulton landed an overhand right at the end of the round. Then in the eighth, a right hand buckled the knees. It was a jab. It was a jab. Yeah, it was a jab. What was it? Jab right hand. It was similar to the one that Shane Mosley used on Mayweather. The same one Joe Cordina used on. Who's that? Same one Joe Cordina used on. Is it Nagawa? And also Anthony Joshua used that same move on Povetkin. And then as Fulton came back up, big left hook dropped. Why am I getting the starts wrong? I'm getting the whole starts wrong, ain't I?
You're a bit under pressure at the moment.
I'm getting the whole starts wrong. But yeah, it was the big one. It was the jab to the body followed by the straight, which dipped his leg. Then as he came up, it was a big hook, which dropped. It was a left hook that dropped Fulton, and then he got up, and then he knew he just jumped on him onto the ropes, and then the ref, and he kind of sagged and crumbled in the corner.
Right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, before I jump in here, we've just had a special guest pull up. So I guess he's walking the streets of Las Vegas at the moment or somewhere. So we're going to bring Tony in very quickly to say what he needs to say, because I don't know how his connection is going to hold up. And then, yeah, we'll get sort of back to the show. Tony, what's good?
Hi, guys.
Hi, man. How are you guys? How's it doing?
Yeah, you got that perfectly right. So, yeah, I am on the street of New York right now. I'm in upstate Manhattan, but I thought I would. Oh my God! Please don't shout. I hope the sound is not too loud, October. I'm sorry if I am shouting, but I'm trying to overcome the sound of traffic around me. And yeah, just thought I'd jump on quickly. Say once again, big up to you, man, for holding the fort in my absence. If you got any questions, I got a couple of minutes. You know what I mean? Fire away.
No, we good. I mean, we wasn't expecting to have you on here, but seeing as you are here for a couple of minutes, give us your takes on what happened in the main event on Saturday, seeing as you won't necessarily be here when we're breaking it down later on.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, I was asked the question by Maestro, who I met on the Friday at the weigh-in, whether I thought there was going to be an issue about Errol being looking gaunt in the face. And I mentioned I didn't think that would be an issue. But maybe in hindsight, and hindsight is a wonderful thing, maybe he was a little bit too weight drained. You know, I don't know if that would have made a huge difference. I mean, I expected him to rehydrate well. I expected him to come in looking much the bigger man than Crawford, but it didn't make any difference. He actually did still look slightly drawn, even on as he was getting his hands wrapped. I didn't think he looked particularly overhydrated or overly, you know, there didn't seem to be a huge smoothness in his face. He still looked quite drawn. The cheek muscles were still well pronounced. But yeah, I mean, what I witnessed at the fight was a total obliteration on the part of Crawford. I was overly shocked. I was so hyped about this fight. I mean, the audience was, to me, very pro Spence. Most people were expecting Spence to take him out. But what happened, I was a complete shock to most people. There weren't that many people, even on Crawford's side, who expected him to stop him. So, you know, big props to yourself, Base. That prediction, as I put in the chat, you know, you are to be kowtowed to for quite a long time now for predicting exactly when that was going to happen. I can say it was an amazing fight.
Is someone's phone ringing?
Might be Tony's.
It looks like he's.
Yeah,
all right. Well, look, I'm gonna put Tony back in the background. Oh, there he is. Tony, listen. Thanks for the words. We'll chop it up when you get back over here, and we'll we'll kick it. Also, put your phone onto desktop mode, so it won't bring you in every time you join the chat. Yeah, so it will keep you backstage.
I'll catch you guys later.
All right, that's up.
Bless.
Okay. Right. Where was? Oh yeah. So sorry. Inoue-Fulton. Okay. So the way I kind of looked at the fight, right? Ultimately, I felt that there was no rounds that I actually gave to Fulton. I did give him. I think I gave him a share of the 7th round. I just want to put that out there basically from now, and that was only because I think in the 7th he landed a really big overhand right to Inoue, and he was sort of getting off a bit of sort of jabs to the body, trying to step on the inside. Now, the way how the fight initially played out for me, it was the fact that I always thought that, you know, Fulton would be the, you know, sort of that slick. Not even so, no, actually, let me not even say that, because I don't particularly think he's a slick fighter, but I thought he was going to play the background a bit more, be a bit more fleet-footed than he was, and just basically have Inoue, not so much like missing and making him pay, but I thought he would make Inoue have to sort of throw to try and pin him down into sections. But Inoue's always been economical. He's forever he's never been a person that just sort of like throws punches in bunches or tries to just land. Every time he throws, it's almost like he gets annoyed, or he feels like he's disrespecting the art if he misses a shot. So he only ever really throws when he feels like he's within range. And I think part of that was one of the things that Fulton was banking on, that he would throw more than he did, so that he could be able to maybe sort of slip and try and counter on those. But the problem being that I don't think he realized just how quick Inoue was of both foot speed and hand speed. Like Inoue literally had him beat in both departments. And whereas like Fulton, yes, he was the visibly bigger guy in the ring, the fact that he was holding that wide stance basically took him back down to Inoue's level. And with Inoue having the faster feet and as Fulton having that wide stance, he was unable to exit or take that half step back and back out of the pocket in time whenever Inoue would launch an attack. Hence why he was getting caught with the jab or caught with the stabs to the body throughout sort of the first 3-4 rounds, and he just couldn't do anything with Inoue. And at that point, I like the fact that in the fight he tried to make an in-fight adjustment. So as you said, from the 4th round, rather than trying to be on the back foot and trying to sort of counter and box and move, he thought, okay, I've got to step into this guy's power. I've got to close the range so that he can't get full extension on his shots, and maybe I can work better on the inside, slip, ride and roll, use a bit of my strength to sort of see if I can wear him down that way and see if I can create openings for myself. But as quickly as he made that adjustment, Inoue also made adjustments on the inside and used that he's clearly a very strong young man in himself. Like, you know, there's sort of Chinese, Japanese, they've all got immeasurable core strength. Like, they just practice that stuff all day long. So it's almost like when he went on the inside, I think he thought he would be a lot more effective. And then essentially when he was there and the Inoue never moved at any point, I think that I think that maybe almost took a bit of his confidence away. Like, oh, right, like, okay, that's not working either. And then with Inoue having the shorter reach anyway, the naturally shorter reach, when he was on the inside, now he was able to throw short, sharp shots on the inside that was still actually causing damage. It wasn't like just a little small dig. It felt like there was quite a lot of torque on those shots, even though there was no trajectory on them to be able to move. And I just think Fulton, basically, he's like, okay, on the outside, he's too quick for me. On the inside, he's a lot stronger than I thought he was, and he's not having to you know, extend as far back. So I'm still taking flush shots, body and head. And it was just one of those ones where I feel like after a while, I think he kind of resigned himself to the inevitable. But what I will rate from Fulton in that fight is the fact that even when I think he knew the writing was on the wall, he still didn't decide to. I thought he would go hop on the back foot, try and be like defensive and sort of see it out or try and see it out. But no, he stayed committed and stayed stepping forward and said, well, it's either me or you. And that's just how this fight has to go. And that's what obviously ended up with him getting caught with the decoy stab to the body with the straight overhand right to the jaw, which obviously wobbled Fulton in the 8th, followed by that leaping left hook that took him down off the ground. Like, with the fact that there was no drive on the floor, just tells you exactly how much power Inoue does pack in those punches, because he had literally no leverage on that shot. He just launched into it and it was just pinpoint accurate. And Fulton straight down, obviously gets back up, tries to fight on, but just gets put in the corner, which is something that I thought would happen to him at points in the fight. He got caught in the corner. He tried to ride tried to throw back on a couple of occasions. The fact that he tried to throw back is what then actually got him caught with there was a right hook, there was like a jab, then there was a straight right, I think it went down to the body, and then the left hook right at the end as the referee was jumping in, which took him off his feet. And just sort of cemented Inoue as the new king of the 122 division. But brilliant fight to watch. And like I said, obviously we'll talk about it a bit more in the later one, but like Fulton tried to make a couple of in-fight adjustments. As that's as a world-class boxer, as a world-class fighter, that's kind of what you have to do if it's not working. He tried. He's just unfortunate that his opponent was able to make adjustments just as quickly. And he had minimal success with it, but obviously he had moments here or there. I see Boxing Pound for Pound Jack in the building. Big up to you. I know he's been speaking with October, bless up. Thank you for being here also. Andrade Francis, I see you. Riaz Makudam, thank you very much for joining the show. Techers for days as well. Big up. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, just before we get into some of the other fights that I know Dani has seen, there was a few fights on the undercard to the Sanisa Estrada and Leonela Yudica fight, which I want to highlight. One in particular was it was a fight from a guy called Carlos Balderas versus a guy called Nahir Albright. So there's I think there's a Mexican guy, Mexican American, versus a Nahir was a African American fighter. Now his record at the time I think was 15. I think it was 15-2, and Balderas's record I think was 14-1 at the time. But Balderas had like 12 knockouts from the 14, and Albright had like 7 KOs out of the 15. So you would think, okay, so Balderas is basically coming in on the wrecking ball mission. But Nahir Albright, he had really, like, he was a mover. So he was like a pure boxer on the back foot, but equal measures was able to operate on the front foot as well. So if you haven't seen that fight, yeah, check it out, because that fight was a really good scrap to watch. Balderas had his moments, obviously, where he did throw those power punches. Albright was able to kind of ride some, never really took any really flush, but he sort of dug deep, especially towards the end of the fight. I think it was an 8-rounder, I believe, 8 or a 10-rounder, but he was basically, Albright was moving like sort of throughout the entire fight, and he started to get tired towards the end, and then he sort of started to plant his feet and trade with Balderas a bit more, but still was able to maintain movement. But it was a really good fight. I think it wasn't the co-main, it was the fight just before the chief support. So it was like the third fight on the card. So if anyone has got that, it should still be on Sky Sports. If you recorded it, or if you need it on one of those websites, feel free. But yeah, that was just a really good fight. I wanted to highlight that one real quick. There's also another fight on that card. Bear with me, I just want to pull up the name of that fight also. What was it? I think the guy's name was Xavier Martinez was the opponent, and here we go. Where is it? Event. So it was Andres Cortez versus Xavier Martinez. It was a fight ended in the 7th round where he got retired. He got retired by the doctor, I think it was. So yeah, that was. If you haven't had a chance to look at that one, have a look at that one as well. Cortez was 19-0 with 10 KOs, and Xavier Martinez was 18-1 with 12 KOs. So yeah, all in all, there was really good sort of a really good card actually. Friday night, the ESPN card. I can't even sort of dispute that. All right, so moving on from there, because we'll save the Estrada match for a little bit later on. Do you want to talk about some of the undercard let's talk about the 2 fights, I guess, from the Queensberry card. Let's get into those real quick.
Yeah. So, well, yeah. What one? The undercard or the main event?
Yeah, let's start with the undercard first.
All right, yeah. So Moses Ituama versus Espinoza. I'm not sure his first name.
Kevin Espindola.
Oh, Espindola. So yeah, Moses landed good combinations in the first round, and then in the second round they were both throwing shots. Moses landed a good couple. Then they both started calling each other on for some reason, like "come on, come on." So that was a bit interesting. And in the third round, Moses landed 3, 4, and 5 punch combinations. In the fourth, he slowed it right down. Like the pace just slowed right down. He went. It became like very dull. Like the crowd was like quiet. They seemed a bit like, "What's going on here?" It was like the first few rounds was like quite entertaining. It's just gone all dull. And then then in the fifth, it was still dull. The sixth, Espinoza was showing durability where Moses was like just punching him up, but he was showing durability, but not much else. Ituama went for it in the sixth. In the last round, landing good shots, looking for the finish, but it was like a bit too little, too late. It seemed like Moses was from the fourth on was trying to conserve energy. I don't know if he's worried about his brother or he's worried about what's his name, that big heavyweight Matty Harris from the other week. But yeah, he just from if you're talking about how he was in the third round to the fourth, it was just a major shutdown. It's like, are these guys doing their runs? Oh, and they claim they're doing strength and conditioning, but you're not looking too conditioned, and your strength ain't looking too strengthy. So what's going on? This is what I keep saying. Stick to the normal training. Stop with this S&C and my dietitian and all these special effects like you're doing this Ivan Drago training. Just be normal. Like stop trying, because you're looking silly now. Like, oh, he's gonna be a world champion. He's gonna break does this guy look like he's gonna break Mike Tyson's record anytime soon, mate? Let's keep it a buck. Like, come on, man. Stop, man.
Yeah, do you know what? It's weird because, funny enough, in the first round, when he went back to his corner, he even said in his corner, "Yeah, like I don't want to blow my gas tank." So imagine someone saying that at the end of the first round of a 6-round fight, and you say to yourself, "Yeah, something there must not be right. You're either not doing the correct stuff in training, or you're not conditioning yourself, or you're not even pushing yourself like in training to find out what your limits are." Do you know what I mean? Like, I would feel that you should be nigh on, dead in one of your training sessions. Say, okay, that's where my max is. I know what I can reach. So when the time you get to the fight, you know where, okay, if as long as I stay within this range, I can last this pace. But the fact is, it's not even the thing that I had the issue with. Is like there's no round where he really proper, I guess, stepped on the pace, apart from that right at the end of the 6th. But there's no way like he really, proper stepped on or threw a huge combination punches and bunch or anything like that to then say at the end of the first, yeah, I don't want to blow my gas tank. And Kevin Espindola wasn't actually out there, like, it's not like he was pushing him back the same way that Dobyshenko was in his last fight. He was just languishing on the ropes. So it's like, okay, even though, yeah, you might be worried about the counter, but you get to work at your own pace here. So there's absolutely no reason for you to not, really like go for it, or to at least, have be like ambush, like become an ambush fighter at that point. Just take your moments, do what you really if you need to, back off after, throw about 14 seconds, 15 seconds. If you need to back off, take a breather, you can step back, because he's not really going to follow you. He didn't do it the whole fight. So you could have then tried to find your shots that way. And then every time he was trying to counter, you should have been anticipating his counter to then counter him back, rather than like almost running off and then trying to find an angle as soon as he's come back to defend. So it was a bit of a lackluster performance in that sense. I mean, I still feel like he's got the the skills where he can develop, but I definitely feel as if he needs to either up his sparring, or he needs to be more active in the ring, because the whole like only having 8 fights away, I feel like maybe he should have been on the card at York Hall on the 18th, and then on the what's it called card, the Zhang Joyce 2 card. I feel like they should literally put him on every card that they have, because they don't even have that many scheduled. In the next 2 months, they've only got 3 fight cards scheduled, which to me is a bit poor, because you've got fighters, you need activity. Hence why I guess all the Queensberry cards and the main events end up coming on after 11 o'clock each day, because they got to throw so many people on the card that they got to try and get 1 or 2 more fight dates a year so that they can spread that out. But I feel like he needs to be on more of these cards, just to build up those, to build up the rounds, and just to understand his, what his physical condition actually is. But obviously he won every round. It was it was labored and lazy, but it was what it was. Obviously it takes his KO ratio down a bit now, so maybe that might hurt his pride and ego. So maybe in the next one he might try and step on the gas just so he can build it up, because no heavyweight worth their salt wants to have a 50% KO ratio. So,
well, that's his 3rd bout, isn't it?
4th.
Oh yeah, so it's 50%.
Yeah, Dobyshenko went rounds with Dobyshenko in the last one on the Joyce Zhang first fight card. That I remember I was there watching that one.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. And then and then to the main event on this card, Liam Davis versus Jason Cunningham. So this was billed as a like a crossroads fight, but with Liam Davis being on the up, Jason Cunningham being not over the hill, but maybe just coming down slightly. Lost to Inoue-Fulton in his last bout, but he dropped him, and he's got a victory over one of the Yafai brothers, which was very good. So yeah, so this one is short and sweet. Round one, Jason Cunningham, he comes out with a fast combination. From there, Liam Davis took it to Jason, hurting him with a right uppercut to the body, then unleashed a six-punch combo, forcing Cunningham to hold. Both pouring out their lead hands in front of each other. Liam feinted, jab landed, a big straight right hand that throws Jason Cunningham in his tracks. A combo followed up, which made Jason turn his back. He got a standing 8 count, then a leaping left hook with a barrage of hooks, forced a stoppage, and it was like, yeah, that was a very big shock, and no one saw that as a one-round blowout because Liam Davis, good prospect. He fought Beach last time out, but he hasn't looked that dynamic. But yeah, he must have.
Well, no, his last fight was Inoue-Fulton, and he fought Mark Leach the fight before that.
That's it.
The Baluta fight, though, I think it's Baluta versus Leach. That fight's happening at York Hall on the 18th, so I'm going to be there. And then I think the plan is to have the two of them, the winners of both fights, fight each other. Because obviously they only put in each other, like it's almost like a round robin amongst that group at the moment. But yeah, there's nothing really for me to add to that. Like I did predict the knockout for Davis on my I'm in some predictions league that's run by an American guy. But I predicted an 11th round KO because I thought, okay, well, neither are really like big punches, but I thought that Davis would sort of get the accumulation sort of down the back stretch of the fight. Obviously, both of them being fairly, not feather-fisted, but, fairly soft-handed by comparison of some of their other opponents. But yeah, the first round thing totally shocked me. I wasn't expecting that at all. I remember I was there when the fight got signed and they were doing the face-off and everything, and they was in the upstairs of York Hall, basically going at it. If you see on like Boxing Social and IFL and all those, where they was both just upstairs talking to each other, like having a go. And then you see Ezra Taylor in the background, and you see me in the background, taking down my camera and everything from the interview I just done. So I heard everything that they said from the start, and from that point I realized that, okay, Liam Davis is really confident in this. And sometimes, it can be overconfidence where you're doing too much talking, but no, he literally just felt like, I can't believe I'm about to get paid for this fight. And by the results of the fight, I mean, I guess he struck pay dirt because he barely took a shot. 1 round, less than 3 minutes worth of work. I'm sure he would have got at least like 5 figures, maybe like a little 90 grand or something. So yeah, that's for less than 180 seconds. I mean, can't complain. But I personally think that after that, to be honest, if you're getting knocked out by Liam Davis in the first round, especially bearing in mind that 2 fights ago you got absolutely destroyed by a potentially juiced up Zolani Tete, so your punch resistance now isn't going to be where it's at. I don't think you need to sort of continue on unless it's literally just to have paydays and be that measuring stick for the up and coming guys. In my opinion, I don't really want that for Cunningham. So I would maybe like to see him, call it a day. But if he doesn't, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, he could do. But I can imagine them probably using him one more time for someone like a Dennis McCann. I'm surprised. What happened to Dennis McCann? He was meant to be fighting Baluta originally, weren't he?
Oh, actually, no, it might be McCann. Oh, yeah, it probably is McCann. Maybe I just made a mistake on the mark, because I saw Mark Leach on something the other day saying he was ready to get back in. So yeah, okay. No, it is McCann in that fight. You're right.
Yeah. So I can see someone like McCann getting a Jason Cunningham or one. Frank will give him a little, farewell check, and he'll get taken out, and then that's about it for Jason. But yeah, he's had a good career, European champion. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's done very well for himself.
Yeah, so if McCann wins, yeah, it will be McCann versus Davis in their next card. That I guess will be the one after the Zhang Joyce 2 card, so October times maybe November, which would actually be a good fight. I would go to that still. Okay, so all right, let's talk. We're gonna talk about Sinisa Estrada. So we'll put that fight here, right, sort of in the middle. So Estrada versus Yudica. Let me start with this one. So the one thing that I sort of thought would take place in this fight, I thought that Sinisa would have to sort of be on the. I thought she would be boxing a bit more on the back foot. I thought Yudica would basically sort of step forward and take it to her a little bit, but I felt like she wouldn't necessarily have any particular problems, only because Yudica's not a huge puncher. But again, because her being an Argentinian, I know that you're just always in for a rough time with the Argentinian women or the men. They're just built differently in terms of toughness. So I thought that I knew it was going to go points. And I don't say that like, oh, like every woman's fight goes points, but like Sinisa does have the ability to stop people. But I just knew that she wouldn't get the necessary openings, and I knew that Yudica, you know, she's been a former champion. Like she is tough, and she knows obviously how to survive. What I wasn't expecting was that Sinisa would be the one on the front foot, basically for the majority of the fight, and Yudica was basically almost boxing off the back foot, trying to tuck up and keep away. So I think she was expecting the power of Estrada to cause her big problems, and then there seemed to have been a switch that took place within I think it was within sort of round 4 or 5 when she realized, Rod, her punches ain't as strong as I thought they were. So when it came time to that point, she was like, okay, you keep leaving yourself open. Every time you throw this shot, your hands ain't traveling. I don't know if Sheena says he's assessing it this way, but I saw it. And I remember one time she just threw one hand over the top and she caught Sinisa like basically with the overhand counter. And then from that moment, she stopped moving backwards. She basically almost just stood her ground every time that they would go into an exchange. And she would just dip her head low and she would either swing with the left or swing with the right. And more time than not, she was catching Sinisa over the top of her own shot or during the exchange. And it looked like a lot of the time her shot was landing more flush than Sinisa's, which is weird because Sinisa's definitely she's definitely not a fighter that is used to getting hit like that, even though a lot of times she is the smaller girl in the ring. But I don't know if it's maybe she just wasn't anticipating the fight to go that way, and so it basically it almost froze her, and she didn't really come out of the funk. But the fight ended up being a lot closer than what the scorecards had it. Well, I had it basically 96-94 to Estrada. Some people had it the other way, which I could just about see. A draw like 95-95 I could have seen as well. But when the scorecards was all 97-93, which I didn't have too much of an issue with because mine was only one round different. But yeah, it wasn't one of her better performances, but she was in there obviously with a pretty good operator. And yeah, ultimately, I think she just needs to tighten up a bit now, because even though not a lot of the girls down there have that much punching power, you don't want to fall into those bad habits of just trading for the sake of trading. Because if Yudica did have a little more pop than she actually does, I think Sinisa would have been in trouble. Like she took some, her eye got puffed up quite a bit, which doesn't usually happen to her. So yeah, it's just for her to tighten up, especially if she manages to get the Yocosta Valle undisputed fight in the next one. Hopefully that does happen. Them two had a nice little spicy back and forth in the ring, which was interesting. But yeah. What did you think of that? And then we can kind of move on.
Yeah, no, that was a good breakdown, but I had it the scorecards a little different. So, but one thing but before I get to that, one thing I will say is Yudica, her punches looked and seemed to be harder than her 1 KO in 19 victories suggest, because I don't know if it was the sound of the microphones in the ring, or I don't know, maybe the crowd was quiet, but the punches sounded quite hard when she was landing. So how I scored it, I gave Yudica the first round. I gave her the third, the fourth, the fifth, the seventh, the eighth. The eighth I gave a 10-10 round. I gave Estrada the second, the sixth, and the ninth, and I gave Yudica the 10th, and I scored it 97-94 to Leona Yudica. Yudica had the better grandstanding finish, and in the last round, I believe, so I gave her the 10th. So yeah, I had it 97-94 to Yudica, but yeah, it seems the public was split on opinions on this result. I wouldn't say it was like some crime of the century, but I do feel that Yudica landed the better punches in more of the rounds. Siniso Estrada was getting caught a lot, especially with the looping hooks and stuff. Her eyes was puffed. She just didn't seem. She was coming forward, but she didn't seem to be getting off as fast as she needed to be. And in the exchanges, she seemed to be getting a bit rattled by a lot of the shots. Even though, as I said, she's only Yudica's only got 1 KO in 19 wins, but it seems that the punches seem to, you know, you've been hit basically by her at least. But that's what Siniso Estrada was giving away. So yeah, hopefully Yudica, we see her again. That's the first time I've actually seen Yudica fight. To be fair, I've seen the Estrada fight several times. You know, she's quite a popular name. But yeah, good Argentinian. I know you do your homework on these Argentinian fighters, especially the women. So yeah, man, you need to give me the heads up next time. So
I will do. I'll let you know. I'll definitely let you know on that one. But no, like it's I'm well, 97. The thing is, I could see 5 rounds, so I can't argue and say that maybe she didn't get a couple others. I have to watch it again, to be honest, because I did my rounding on sort of one occasion, but it was late. You know, the ones I had other things focusing on. So, but maybe when I watch it back I watched it one time properly. The other time I was kind of skimming through it. So maybe I might go and watch it later on, and definitely we might talk about it at a later date, you know, sort of off air or something like that. But cool. All right. Big ups to Untraceable in the building. Daniel J. Boateng as well. Yeah, Untraceable, and also Silvestri Solomé 2011. Big ups to you in the building as well. Okay, so let's talk about real quick. We're not going to really do proper breakdown on this one, but Yoenis Tellez against Sergio Garcia. Now, funny enough, right? When I first initially, because Tellez was a last minute replacement, because I was looking, I'm like, wait a minute, I swear that Garcia had a different opponent before, but I couldn't remember because it had been a while since I had seen the thing. But yeah, he was like I think it was like a 2-week replacement. And when I saw his record, like 5-0 with 4 KOs, and I'm like, hold on, but you're up against this man. So what are they trying to do to this guy? Then I looked and I saw, okay, Cuban. So I thought, okay, maybe he's got one of those extensive amateur backgrounds. So I was just looking, and then something said to me on one of my thing. Okay, I had Garcia. I was like, no, you know what? I feel that I gotta pick this guy, but I know Garcia is like, he's a good operator, and he knows how to kind of keep himself safe. So I went for Tellez on points on like one of my accumulators and on my predictions league. But yeah, I don't remember the Fondora fight that well for Garcia, but I don't remember him being this front foot pressure fighter that he's all of a sudden turned into, which is very dangerous for someone that's only got 14 KOs. Like you're a boxer, you're like a pure boxer move type guy. You know, pick off from the outside, maybe stand and trade when you have to. But him coming up with the high guard and everything, it was a bit weird. I'm not used to seeing him like that. But he had some success. I mean, in rounds 1 and 2, he did have a lot of success. He won those rounds quite convincingly, obviously backing Yoenis Tellez up. But in both of those rounds, apart from the first round, I think Tellez felt a little bit pressured. But in the second round, it's almost like he started just to adjust himself to say, okay, all right, I kind of see what your patterns are. And then he's almost started to have a bit of success towards the end of the second round. And then, yeah, just from the third round, that overhand right where he just basically opened up. You know, Garcia committed himself when he didn't need to. Bang, overhand right over the top. Legs dipped into that squat position, but he stayed on his feet. Next thing, he switches off and looks at the ref, and then boom, like down, you know, just down heavy. And I thought to myself, wow, okay, I got to keep an eye on this Tellez guy because I never heard of him before.
You there? Base? I think he's froze. All right, guys, while he's getting his help back. You
there? You hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. You froze. Yeah, you're back, Base. You're back.
It was you. Chat, can you just let me know if you can hear and see me? Because we looks like we've got a bit of a connection problem. Is that me or Danny?
No, I can see you now. You froze for a bit.
Okay. What was the last thing you heard?
You were saying you got to look out for Tellez because you never seen him before.
No, that's it. Yeah, I'd never seen him, so I want to look out for him for future fights. But what did you think of that one, real quick?
Yeah, I never heard of Tellez either. Never heard of him in the amateurs or anything. And so yeah, Garcia. So we're breaking that. Garcia working him over in the first round, head and body, front foot pressure, rounds 1 and 2, which was very strange because as we know, we first come to kind of know him when he boxed Ted Cheeseman's head off. You know, stick and move type guy. And he's done, you know, good on the European circuit. Even in he got the stuff. I don't know, maybe because I think maybe he got gassed by his little Italian stoppage the other week. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's what it was when he bruck up my accumulator, and then he bruck it up this time because I had him on points this time. This man's an idiot, man. I'm never betting him again. But yeah, so he's come out in the third round now. Tellez landed a good 1-2 left hook, and then 40 seconds later. While still losing the round, to be fair, because Garcia was, you know, doing the work rate and that, he landed a 1-2, but a looping hook, which dipped Garcia's legs, arse to grass in squat position. And then as he got up, it's kind of like how Fulton dipped and then got up. But then this time, the right hand, even though, because I've never seen Sergio Garcia on the floor before, but even the right hand forced him to lean back. So, and then he got up, you know, he's protested looking at the ref like, oh, what's he doing? He hit me illegal. No, it weren't. And then a barrage of punches punched him up. The ref stopped it. And then all of a sudden Garcia does the whole, you know, the Forest Hill Boys thing where you just got punched up. Everyone grabs you. Let me, it's trying to go for him. Then he's like, mate, it's too late for all this. Like,
you know what? To be fair, like, I agree. But it did look like he was almost waiting for just an opportunity to strike back because he did throw a couple of punches in the middle of the thing. So I'll give him half of an excuse there. But that being said, like ultimately you can't just tuck up on the ropes if you're not slipping. Like if you're just sticking behind the guard, especially if you're getting hit, you know that the stoppage is coming. So either move, either tie up or run at that point to keep the ref from jumping in, if that was the but just to let you know, sir, I know that you were saying it wasn't Garcia that broke up the accumulator, it was Sandor Martin that
it was his brethren.
Yeah.
Another pure box. Sorry, that's what I got mixed up. But yeah, there's still the front foot thing. That's not for him. He's a stick and move pure boxer, so he should. I don't know what tactic that was to employ.
Apparently he did that against Sebastian Fondora. Now I saw that fight, but I don't remember him being that way. But it might make sense because Fondora with that long reach, you've got to find a way to just get on the inside or get inside his reach because you're not going to be able to outbox him from the outside. He's just too big, too tall. So
yeah, he did. I remember it. He did, but that was the tactic. He can't do that whole Ted Cheeseman style against Fondora. It's like nearly a foot taller than him. So I do remember him getting on the inside, and it was quite effective. He lost a close points thing, but when you're fighting a Cuban, I thought, all right, yeah, he's Cuban, but I think maybe even Tellez, the reason why he got so flustered in the first round is because he probably thought he was going to have a boxing match with Garcia, and then when my man just stuck in him, he thought, hold on, this isn't what we was working on in the gym. So that's why it took him a couple of rounds to kind of figure out what's going on.
Fair enough. All right. Let's talk. Okay, so let's talk about Isaac Cruz against Giovanni Cabrera. I don't really want to give this one too much time, but I'm gonna let you lead this. What was your thoughts?
Yep. So how I done it, Cabrera coming in 21-0, 7 KOs. Cruz, you know, pitbull, big knockout, puncher. So yeah, Cabrera, southpaw stance, and on the move, circling to the right, on the jab, and yeah, right and lead right hooks, but it's like slapping type, hit and move, bull and matador tactics in the first round. He took that. Second round, same thing. Third round, Cruz started roughing Cabrera up, who seems to be showing and complaining to the ref a lot. Cruz bulldozes as Cruz was bulldozing in, working the body. The fourth round, Cabrera bringing the left cross into play with jabs, circling, boring but yet effective. Cruz finally landed one left hook in that round, but it's still a Cabrera round. The fifth round, quiet, first 2 minutes. Then Cruz explodes with left hooks, putting Cabrera in a bit of bother. Ref stopped the momentum of Cruz, warning him about his head. I personally didn't see anything wrong with that one though. But yeah, he just broke it up, which I just thought was unnecessary. I gave that one round to Cruz, the fifth round. The sixth, big body shots from Cruz, hurting him. It was like a pea shooter versus a cannon. Headshots landing. Cabrera's hands way too low with his chin up in the air. I gave that as a Cruz round. The seventh, Cabrera outworked Cruz, peppering him with shots, uppercuts and hooks. But when I'm saying uppercuts and hooks, don't think I'm saying it like they're good uppercuts and hooks. It's just the flappy tappy type nonsense. No power, but it's CompuBox scoring at the end of the day. A very amateur style Cabrera was using. The eighth round, Cruz was doing better, but got a point off for using his head when he was kind of doing this thing to try. But he was trying to show the ref that Cabrera's holding. So he was doing that kind of jump thing. But normally, if you're the same height, you'd normally do it with your shoulder. But because Cruz is so short, he can't use his shoulder. So he had to kind of use his head. But the ref decided to take a point off him. He was losing the round up until that point, and then from the point come off, he just started going in, and then I had to give that a 10-9 round because you couldn't give that a 10-8 round. So that was a 10-9 round to Cabrera. Wait.
Hold on, so yeah, with that round, just before you carry on, I actually had that round to Isaac Cruz. Now, the thing is, when you get a point taken off, you don't immediately lose the round. You just have the point off. So that ended up just being a 9-9 because it would have been a 10-9 plus and then you minus the point. Is that not how you do it for when you do like points deductions?
Yes, but if was it a 10-point? I scored it on a 10-point must system.
Yeah, but even if it's a 10-point must system, Isaac Cruz still won the round with 10 points, but the point was then deducted at the end after the 10 points. Then they take the one off afterwards. So it's like he still wins the round, but then they take they mark the point off just because he had it then deducted afterwards.
Well, I had Cabrera winning the round up until the point got taken off, and then from the point got taken off, then Cruz just turned it turned it up. So I had him actually. I had it going as a 10-8 until like the last 30 seconds, and then Cruz just went in, and so I had to give him a point back. So that's why I scored a 10-9 Cabrera.
All right, cool. No, because I had Cruz winning that round, so that's why I was just checking how you had it. Okay, cool. Carry on. So
yeah. And yeah, 10-9 round, and he had Cabrera blinking and on Queer Street at the end of that round. That's probably why you gave Cruz that round. Fair enough. So I understand why you would have done that. Into the corner with big right hands. The ninth round, Cruz landed better shots. Took the round, double uppercut on the inside and a salvo of hooks. The 10th round I gave Cabrera, and the 11th as he was outworking Cruz. As Cabrera looked like he'd got a second wind in the 11th, whereas Cruz seemed to be tucking up more. It seemed like he was feeling the pace. And in the 12th round, I also gave to Cabrera as well. So in the end, I ended up having it 116, 112 to Cabrera.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really gonna go too much into it. I thought it was a very poor performance from Isaac Cruz. I also didn't think it was a great announcement fight for Cabrera either. Obviously, I know styles make fights, and sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do to win. But in my personal opinion, the fact that you are fighting, quote unquote, the house guy, the person that they're trying to position back to fighting Gervonta Tank Davis, you kind of need to do a bit more, especially in those earlier rounds. Like, funny enough, he had the more success in those rounds, but I just feel like every time he got caught, it was just a lot more impactful because he had no pop. So it just looked a lot more impactful every time he got hit by Cruz. I actually had it. I did have it to Cruz on a night seven, just about. I just had him scraping 7-5. But it was just one of those. It was one of those situations where I was like, yeah, it was, even in victory, it was a very poor performance. And Cruz has been ducking any meaningful fights ever since that first Gervonta Davis fight. So yeah, until he gets that second one, he's not. I don't feel like he's going to fight anyone with a pulse in the 135 division. He's also a very much a sort of a basic, does one thing, does it fairly well, but just does one thing, no adaptation, can't switch up tactics type fighter. So yeah,
one thing I did want to ask you, what was their beef about during the build-up? Because there was a lot of pushing and shoving and arguing.
I think he said that Cabrera was just talking to him. I think Cabrera was just basically saying, look, this guy it's a little guy, in it. No, I'm gonna shock the world, I'm gonna do whatever. And I think Cruz is just like, how dare you talk like you? I was in there with Tank. Who have you been in there with? You don't have a right to think you're going to win this fight. I think that's what it was about.
Okay.
So yeah, I haven't really got much more to say on that. With regards, there's a comment here from Saint. I haven't seen you before, but big up. No clips or pics. No. Tony normally likes to do the pics and the videos and stuff. We do have a bunch of it, but there was a lot to put up, and not all of it was the best of quality. So we're just kind of talking through the the stuff as we saw it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Daniel said Cruz's jab was MIA. Yep, I mean, he doesn't have one, so that's not surprising. Okay, look, let's move to what you would like to call the penultimate round, and we're going to talk about, obviously, our guy Nonito Donaire against Alexandro Santiago. Let me start on this one. So it's funny. Like, initially, I thought, okay, I would pick Nonito to win on points. My first thought was, I reckon he could probably get a KO. But then when I was looking more at Santiago, I was looking at the record. I remember seeing him in a couple fights. So I actually know this guy's tough, and he sort of knows how to get in and out of shots. Like, he knows how to sort of get around them as well. So I thought, okay, Nonito could control it sort of behind the jab, and then basically, have him scared of landing that right hand, or landing either the right hand or landing the hook. Therefore, maybe not being too committed to his attacks on the opposite side. Then shout out to Jamie from Punch Perfect. He obviously let some information out from when he was in a sparring session that he saw Nonito for the second Inoue fight, whereby he said that there was some concerning stuff that happened in that particular within that whole time frame and time period. And yeah, he just felt like, unfortunately, Nonito wouldn't. He's basically, maybe his timing's gone a bit. So I then obviously changed. Or this was after I'd done my video. Cause I done my video on Tuesday. I found out this information on sort of like I think it was the Thursday or the Friday. So I was like, oh, okay. So then I changed my pick on the other on my predictions league. But yeah, I didn't put it in my accumulator, because when it's a fighter that I like, I really either like or respect, I generally, if I think they're gonna lose, I just won't bet on them. That's sort of my little bit of respect. I don't know why, but yeah. So by me leaving it out of the accumulator, I specifically thought, I think bad things are ahead in this one. And you know, it was one of those fights. It was it's weird because I actually had it scored. I had it scored a draw. I had it scored 114, but I can see where other people got the other two rounds, or even 3 rounds, because I saw some people had it 117, 111, and I was like, I can't even deny and say I can see those rounds that you've given to him that I've just edged to Donaire, but I can see exactly how you've given those rounds the other way. So yeah, it was he wasn't really able to pull the trigger in. It's almost like he had a couple of spurts, but the body just wasn't doing what the mind wanted it to do. He was getting caught on the counter quite a bit. It was yeah, it's one of those ones where, look, at the end of the day, like, Santiago is a good fighter, but like, we know that, or at least I know that an Anito from, say, just even a year and a half, 2 years ago, to me, doesn't lose that fight, wins it very, very comfortably. So it was a bit of a down thing to see, I suppose. Again, it was competitive, and you know, in there, the old man showed that there's still some life in the old dog, as they say. But ultimately, it's like, you don't want to have someone that you've either grown up with, or you know was, you know, such a special talent, being reduced to, like, you know, being an also ran against, you know, people that realistically, you know, shouldn't have been in there. Same with the whole, I guess, Roy Jones Jr. thing after the Tava rematch, you know, just sticking around too long and then taking losses from people that could have never even looked in your direction when you were, you know, when you was top of the hill, similar to Mike Tyson, you know, sort of in his final phase of his career. So it's just like, yeah, it didn't really feel great to watch. I was hoping he could pull it out, pause, and get the victory, but yeah, it just couldn't quite get over the finish line. So unfortunate, but yeah, that's sort of my take on that. I mean, if you want to go a bit more analytical, feel free.
Yeah, but I had it 116, 112 to Santiago. So yeah, I could see Donaire was doing that foot thing, that kind of Pacquiao, as Keith Thurman says, that the double pump fake, because why Keith, why? Because my feet ain't flat. But the mind was willing, but the body was not, unfortunately. So this is how I had it on the rundown. Round 1, sharp, snappy jab from Santiago. Disciplined boxing, landed a few lead left hooks to the head and to the body. Likes to throw a jab followed by a fast overhand right. I noticed that from the first round, so I gave that to him. The second round, same. Santiago's quicker off the mark and quicker to the draw with fast jabs. Donaire did better finding range, but Santiago was landing more and faster. Third round, Donaire landed his trademark left hook that rocked Santiago bad. Nonito followed up during an exchange, won the round, landed another left hook, ended the round, and whilst he rocked him the first time, he put a good cluster together as Santiago was hurt. So I gave Donaire the third. The fourth round, Santiago was on the front foot, landing lead right hands and rolling out, kind of Mayweather style, but very poor man's version. But yeah, you get the drift. And jabs to the body with a 2-1 straight, which is like which I like to call the Kovalev move. He landed on Donaire also, which was good shots. The fifth round, somehow Donaire started listening to his wife, who you could hear screaming in the crowd because she was saying, "Establish your jab, establish your jab." So he was listening to her. He established his jab finally. Good body shot, left hook from Donaire, which backed up Santiago. I gave Donaire that round because he established his jab well and landed a good hook. Round 6, Santiago came out, established his combinations, backing Donaire up onto the ropes, took the fight to him. That was a Santiago round. 7th, Santiago, jab to the body, right hand to the head with 3 more straight, 5 straight punches, 5-punch combo, lead left hook. Yeah, as he led him with a lead left hook, an accidental clash of heads incurred, and Santiago got cut. even though he initiated it. But yeah, ref just said accidental. Donaire landed another left hook to the body, but getting out jabbed in the last 25 seconds. So I gave the 7th to Santiago. The 8th, Donaire came out with, his eyes was like marked up and puffy, trying the two-phase herky-jerky feet all night, but they just ain't moving fast enough like back in the day. Santiago with an uppercut on the inside and lead left hook. Double left hook, Santiago pushing him back, gave him that round. The 9th, Donaire won the first minute with the jabs and 1-2s. Santiago controlled Donaire's head, slamming 3 right hooks into the side of his head. Donaire landed a wonderful pull counter on Santiago. Santiago with a strong finish with a right uppercut, left on the inside, followed with a flurry. Santiago round. The 10th, Santiago. 11th, Donaire won the first 2 minutes of the 11th, but the last minute Santiago won big, and basically I just feel like he stole the round off of Donaire, unfortunately, and he took the 12th. So that's how I had it: 116, 112.
No, fair enough. Like I said, there's rounds where I can see with why people gave him Santiago. Me, I just sort of edged a couple the other way, but it is what it is. Hopefully, we will have that that rescheduled for next week. The interview that we was doing, we did want to have it obviously before the fight, and then the fight got postponed and other things. So it won't be under the same circumstances, but I know that next week is quite a quiet one in terms of like actual action and stuff. So that might be a perfect time to get him on the channel. So we will see how that all transpires and unfolds. But now, as it's 10:10, hopefully we will be done in the next sort of 15 minutes or so. We're going to get to the main event of that card. Now, before we get to before we speak about the main event, if you was on Monday Night Smoke yesterday, you would have seen that I had a lot of choice words to say about Errol Spence Jr., about PBC, I guess, in general, but part of it pertaining to Errol Spence Jr., whereby I did say that I felt he was overhyped, I felt he was overrated, and I called him a hype job. So look, emotions were running a bit high. I'd been feeling maybe 5 years of frustration of the antics against Mr. Terence Bud Crawford. That being said, after reflecting on it for 24 hours or so, I still feel the same way. However, what I wanted to do is I wanted to actually bring some context to what I'm saying, because I know that a lot of the time, as soon as you use words, they're trigger words for some people. So a word like overhyped or hype job or overrated, people think you immediately just mean someone's like trash, or you think they're shit. Like, so no, what I want to explain is, all right, is Errol Spence Jr. a crap fighter or a rubbish fighter? No, he's not. Never said that, never thought that, never will. Is he a good fighter? Yes, I think he's good, right? I think as I said, I think he's an above average fighter. He does everything. He's basically very textbook, so he does everything well, okay? But there's nothing that he does exceptionally. I guess his best attributes, his 4 best attributes are basically fundamental things. One is a good work rate. He has a good jab, and he's good at attacking the body of stationary or opponents that will be like right in front of you. So yes, I think he's a good fighter, an above average good fighter. I've always maintained that. However, when I've said he's overrated, I do believe he's overrated, because I never believed that he should have at any point been number 4 on any pound for pound lists, because he hadn't done anything to suggest that he was a number 4 pound for pound guy, when you had like much better candidates that were basically underneath him in their rankings. So that's that part. Then when I say he's overhyped, well, again, a lot of people, I believe, have seen him be matched very, very well. We'll say there's a lot of careful matchmaking that goes into a lot of fighters, and not just him, but which has people believing that he could do things that I saw clearly from the start that he couldn't, which is weird because for someone that's, you know, not a pro boxer, not an ex-boxer, not a former amateur, you know, done some boxing, been to some boxing gyms, done some training here and there. It's very weird how, to me, I saw instantly from ages ago how the fight would play out between these two, and all of these so-called experts or greats of the sport couldn't see it. It baffles me, but I digress. So when I say, yeah, overhyped, that's what I believe. Now, even when I say, okay, hype job, now again, this isn't necessarily on Spence himself, but when I say hype job, he was hyped up by PBC to be like, he was that guy. They self-proclaimed him the boogeyman of the division, and all of that sort of stuff there. Like all of the narratives was all about how, you know, how special that Spence was, even though there's nothing that he did in a ring that was special. So it was brilliant marketing in terms of, you know, his, you know, how you view him as a you know, a boxer, you know, as a unified champ or whatever. But to me, I feel he was overhyped. So when I was saying yesterday that, look, ultimately anything I'm saying is not taken away from Bud, because we've seen what Bud, we've seen the skills, the talent, and the talent level that Bud has had. A guy, as he said, never actually been in a quote unquote close fight. And anytime someone has thought that a fight has been close, he's shut that down by getting a stoppage or a KO victory. So my words yesterday was in no way trying to take away from the credit of Terence Crawford. I also wasn't saying that Errol Spence is shit. I was not saying that at all, but I stand by what I said. I do think he was overhyped. I do think he's overrated. And yeah, ultimately, based on the context of how hype job is within the PBC, especially, I do think he was a hype job. Now that I've got that out of the way and everyone's kind of heard my thoughts, heard my perspective, like I said, I stand on my square. I'm happy being the only person believing that. If other people believe it as well, cool. But what I will say is I haven't said anything that Bomac didn't say in a previous interview, where he actually said that the PBC, basically, he goes, no, the media are the ones that basically gave Spence his greatness. Before he hasn't done anything for that greatness. It's the media that told you that he was amazing. That's what Bomac said in the interview. I think it's about 2 weeks ago. So you can feel free to go back and have a look at that if you think that I'm, you know, obviously a bit out of pocket there. And there's other people who've believed the same thing. I know that, like I said, if I've got to stand alone on that one, I'm fine with that, because I'm quite happy in myself to be, you know, to be alone, wrong and strong, right and strong, however, lone wolf, whatever the case may be. That being said, so that's enough in terms of that part of it. Me and Danny, obviously, we've had our little bits of banter back and forth about this. It was a lot more of a personal thing between us, just this whole exchange. But let's move on to the breakdown. But before I do that, because there are some comments that have come in now, so I guess we got to address it. Yeah, so Dean Mills, I said, Base went ham on Spence yesterday. Daniel J. Bowen said, can't lie, Base mocked it regarding Errol yesterday. I mean, maybe I did. Again, there was some extra vim in there. So Daniel also says, Bud is special, and I believe he will retire undefeated. But Errol, before the car crash, would have given by the way tougher fight. I mean, that's fair. He's also said Errol is still not 100, and I doubt he ever will be. Errol's blood looked contaminated. It looked more orange than red. Okay. I mean, yeah, you might be right. Paul Wilson White says, I have said the same, Base. I agree. Dean Mills has said, if he won, what would you have said? Well, what could I have said? He would have proved me wrong. I mean, the only thing I guess I would have said is, well, everyone said, oh, well, he's the naturally bigger, the naturally stronger guy. So he's supposed to beat the little guy. That's what they say, right? A good big un always beats a good little un. So he wouldn't have been as overrated, I suppose, depending on how he won, I guess. But Jam Down 187 says, nah, Herald was overhyped. He was a notch above the other 147, but was spoken like he was way clear above the likes of a Brook, Porter, etc. Muzi Moyo says Base lost some money on Spence. Actually, Danny, do you want to fill him in?
Yeah, no, Base won the money. I lost the money, unfortunately. But yeah, regarding what I will say, when you're saying overrated in the pound for pound rankings, I do feel, because he didn't go through any weight divisions like all the other candidates who, when they was putting L at number 4 and 6, which was probably a bit high. Also, with
before you carry on, to me, you can be a pound for pound number 1 in one weight division if your weight division is like Murderer's Row and you basically clean it out and just reign supreme. I actually don't have an issue with that. So I just wanted to say that before you carry on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So then with the media thing, I do think that possibly remember when Errol was coming up, he got an extra boost in promo because he beat up Floyd Mayweather in the sparring session, so that helped him out. And then remember he stopped Adrian Broner in sparring. This was when Broner was undefeated. So this sparring, the gym stories, was what kind of elevated Errol's popularity. So when he was coming through, tearing guys down. But the only thing I wouldn't say is hype job, because there's no one. It's not hype job. Is what I call Edgar Berlanga, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Guys where they're hype, like they've been matched carefully, but there's no one in the division who Errol Spence didn't see, who he needed to see, who he swerved and ducked and got carefully guided away from and maneuvered around. And at one point, he was the number 1 before Terence Crawford moved up. He was the number 1. Even when Terence beat Jeff Horn, he'd only just beat Jeff Horn. Errol was, once upon a time, the number 1 welterweight in the division. So he couldn't be a hype job if he was really number 1. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why I wouldn't say, and then what I say, why I wouldn't use the word hype. Overrated, overhyped, I can understand you saying that. But the hype job word, because we know where the hype job category and the hype job guys, what type of guys they are. I wouldn't say that, because then when you're going through Crawford's resume, oh, but this guy was old. Oh, but this guy, he used funny gloves. This guy, oh, but Errol was a hype job anyway. Because in the annals of history, you don't want them to say, oh, Errol was a hype job, because then that takes it away from Crawford. It was a very good victory. Yes, do I think that Errol looked a bit drained and a bit out of it in the change room? A little bit, but guess what? He agreed to the weight division. He says he has to be a man, and guess what? He got bruck up, he got moved to, and he got dealt with ultimately. So that's what it is.
I just want to respond to this comment before we actually get into the breakdown. It says, facts, Spence beat Porter at his own game. I disagree with that, Daniel. I mean, personally, again, even with the knockdown, I actually did have Porter winning that fight. And that was, when every time I've scored it the same way. That being said, the fact that he had to fight Porter at his own game, quote unquote, is one of the big red flags that I had against Errol Spence in the past. I don't ever believe that like a world class or an elite level guy or whatever, like the reigning, even though you're fighting another champion, I don't think you should ever be dragged into another man's fight. And even if it's on some macho thing, I can understand you doing it for a couple rounds, but ultimately you want to always create clear separation from your opponent to show that you are dominant. So you don't fight them the way they want you to fight for the entire fight, if you can help it, kind of thing. So to me, even if you say he beat him at his own game, fair enough. I'm not going to argue, because he did get the win on a split decision. But the fact that he had to told me a lot in that moment. And that's
what I was saying about that is that, yes, initially he was doing it to be macho, but then he got dragged so far in, he couldn't get out of it. Whereas someone like, as you said, even if you want to do that at first, you want to bring some separation. I.e., if you look at Carl Froch versus Jean Pascal, the first 8-9 rounds, Froch was going to war, bam, 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 toe to toe. And then from the 9th onwards, he just started going behind the jab, pop, 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 pop. And this is Froch, you know, Mr. Warzone himself, and started boxing behind the jab, completed rank separation, won the rest on points. When Carl Froch against George Groves, the first fight, you know, he tried to crash bang wallet. He realized, you know what, I'm in hell now. I've just got to go for it. Fun, you know, the stoppage happened how it happened. The second fight, what did Froch do? Altered the game plan, started boxing behind his jab, rank separation, lined up the big right hand, you know, the 80,000 fan right hand. So yeah, Errol, he couldn't get himself out of the mud, and he was forced to dig deep and drag it out, and he managed to get the knockdown in the 11th round. But yeah, he should have been able to, you know, get some separation of boxing moves on Porter, but he couldn't, unfortunately. But yeah, Errol's the truth, but he got beat by the better man.
So Phil Larkins obviously said, "Good evening, chaps. Would the Manny that beat Thurman have beaten Spence?"
No.
I'm gonna, you know what? Here's the thing, right? I'm not sure. And the reason I say that is because Manny was the one that asked for the fight. Now, obviously, that doesn't always mean something, but a lot of the time you don't get that guy asking for a fight that he thinks he's gonna lose. What I will say is I think they saw something that they felt they could exploit. Remember, Manny's a lot faster, a lot sort of more fleet of, even at that advanced age, he was a lot faster than Spence, a lot more sort of nimble. And also what we've now seen is that this is his 3rd fight against a southpaw, and he can't, it's almost like he can't adapt to that southpaw style. He's so used to fighting orthodox. Obviously, we know southpaw versus southpaw is always a tricky situation, but it's like, it's almost like he had no answers for that southpaw. So while I'm not gonna say that Manny would have beaten him, I have a suspicion that they definitely believed that they would, because they're the ones that called for the fight until obviously the eye situation, and then obviously Ugas got the call afterwards. So yeah, I'm inconclusive, but Danny thinks no. I'm not gonna argue.
Yeah, I think Manny was too old. And the thing about the southpaw thing with Errol, yeah, is what it is. He's like an orthodox southpaw, because historically southpaws are normally meant to be, you know, on the back. They put more of the weight on the back foot. They like to circle round to the right and try to box a bit more against a orthodox opponent, because orthodox ain't used to dealing with that that stance angle. Whereas Errol comes forward a lot. So when he's coming in against a fellow southpaw where your lead foots are touching, he's like the orthodox guy. So he's then now befuddled by that southpaw stance, because he's so used to boring in on orthodox people. And that's why Elusive 2.0, how he broke down that Crawford used his stance against him, the bladed stance, so Errol couldn't blade up and open up Crawford properly for the body shots. But yeah, we need to get into this breakdown of the fight, because I know you want to break it down.
No, do you know what? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go first, and then I'm gonna let you lead. Obviously, this is my moment, so I'm quite happy to take the lead on this one. Okay, so they said Spence was too big. Well, Crawford I guess he showed that size doesn't particularly matter, doesn't win the fight. They said that Spence was too strong, but I told everyone, I guarantee you that Crawford's the stronger guy out of the two of them. And that was proved to be right. Every time they scrapped on the inside, Crawford got the better of those exchanges. He was pushing Spence back pretty much every time they went in the clinches. Like it was Crawford that was pushing Spence off or maneuvering him where he wanted him. Even the time in the first round when they got tied up close to the ropes and Crawford spun him around on the ropes. At that point, I knew, okay, to the same thing I was saying about he's just going to find angles on him that Spence just doesn't have an answer for. Immediately, everything sort of told me from the first round on how the fight was going to go. Now, the thing is, that first round, even though I gave it to Spence, just basically an activity, but he didn't actually land much. Everything that he landed was to the body. I don't think he actually caught Crawford to the head, any of those jabs that he landed. Crawford had the nice tight guard, sort of moving back. Every time Errol sort of stepped in, he'd take that little half step back, like just basically trying to just assess the movement, swing. You know, he would veer off around to the right, and he just kept basically moving around Spence. And then when he was popping that jab, he was popping the jab from the first round to tell you that immediate, like, my jab is faster than yours, and I'm not even having to come over the top of your jab from the normal orthodox stance. Like, I'm taking this from, I'm playing you at your game right now, and I'm showing you that while you've got a jab, I can take that away from you by just being quicker and being more effective. Bearing in mind, because Crawford is a natural orthodox fighter. He fights out. He likes to fight southpaw, and obviously him being naturally right-handed, his jab, as he said, is always right hand is always a power jab because that's his dominant hand. So every time he's going to hit you with that, it's going to hurt more traditionally than someone hitting you with their weaker jab hand. So I felt like he was more accurate on the jabs, but obviously just because Errol did more and did control more of the center of the ring, obviously gave him the first round. Second round, now I felt at this point Errol was getting a bit aggressive, and I felt like there was some really good aggression that he was making, that he was playing right at the sort of the start, but then the problem is he started almost, I feel like he kind of got a bit greedy in some of his aggression. He started lunging in, sort of getting a bit off balance. And there was a couple of times I saw, it's almost like you see Crawford, it's almost like he looks around when El was about to do something, he slipped out and he's looking. Oh, okay. It's almost like, okay, you've left that open. Let me see if you do that again. And he did that a couple of times throughout the round. Errol just, because he wasn't doing a huge amount, I think Errol thought, oh, okay, I got him now. This is why I get to turn up the pressure. But he stayed composed, and he was like, he's like, okay, cool. We're gonna stay in this pocket now. And that's when he started playing that jab. A couple times down to the body, he hit that. Errol over the top. I remember Errol, I think, caught him with something. I think Bud partially blocked it, but he caught him. And then, but Bud, anytime you catch him, his first instinct is to get you straight back. And I remember I think he launched into a straight right over the top straight after that. But then he went back into his composure mode, just walking around assessing, and then boom. That's when you get towards the end of the round. Errol overcommits, steps over his front foot as he's done on several occasions before. Bud hits him. He manages to catch him. He just times him with that backhand. So it was the back left, bang, to like, it's almost like it pushed the shoulder out, and then he hits him with that hard power jab right to the bottom of the chin, which just takes Errol off his feet. He's down. And even when he gets up, it's not like, oh, a flash knockdown, get up, like, oh, okay, all right, cool, let's go. It's almost like, whoa, what was that? That wasn't supposed to happen, kind of thing. And you could see he almost looked a bit shell shocked at that one. And then Bud went in for the finish at that point. But then obviously end of the round, he said, okay, cool. Then when Errol came out in the third round, obviously he came out trying to up the tempo and trying to basically throw lever. So Bud's like, okay, you know what? You've got energy. Now I'm not about to play this game, this macho mano game with you. Like, I've just shown you that I can kind of do what you do in the first couple of rounds. But yeah, you can kind of have that, but now you're just giving me openings. So it's almost like every attack that Crawford, that Spence was doing, Bud was just seeing the attacks. He was catching some stuff, obviously taking what he needed to take, either on to the body or whatever. But he's staying there, staying in center, staying composed, staying closed up. And then as soon as Errol was going a bit too wide with either the straight jab or whatever, boom, straight through the center, just popping him with that jab, like rocking his head back towards, especially sort of the last minute of the round. Caught him with a couple short hooks to the body as well. And yeah, literally from that point onwards, right at the end of that round, he basically just took every single weapon that Spence had away from him. Spence had no, without going in through the rest of it, because we know what happened throughout the rest of the fight. Spence wasn't able to adjust anything. He wasn't able to try a different tempo. He wasn't able to try and move onto the back foot. He just had to basically try and do the same thing that he's always done, because he thought it's always worked for me before. It's got to work for me sooner or later. And I think that's one of the reasons why, well, to be honest, I feel like there's twofold. I feel that number one, Terence, in one way, I feel like he wanted to punish Spence for the 5 years, but in another way, I think he respected him enough that he didn't necessarily want to like really hit him with some shit that would make you say, oh, like, yeah, like, okay, I want to flatline this guy. So I feel like he was sort of caught between, all right, I want to punish you, but I don't want to hurt you, kind of thing, if that makes sense. So, but there was periods in there where I feel like Errol, he lasted because in his mind, every one of his fights, he's always been hit, right? But his whole mantra is always, I'll get to you. I will grind you down. I will take what I need to take in order to get on the inside, to work, to work your body, to, pop that jab in your eye just to get you, and I will eventually get to you. And his body and his mind has always been conditioned that way. And I feel like that's why he was able to survive as long as he did. And even if the ref didn't jump in, I feel like he probably would have still survived that round, unless someone threw the towel in, because his mind is is constantly just going to tell him, no, like, I can get through this. I can get through this. We do this. This is what we do. This is what we do. However, I feel like, before I obviously finish this off, I just want to say, if they was to have a rematch, I definitely think that the fight would end a lot sooner at 154 or anywhere else, for two reasons. Number one, obviously now Bud knows what Errol has. To him, he's like, okay, basically, I'm gonna start this from round 9. And I feel like because Errol's body and his mind now knows, oh, like, I can't just take shots and still win a fight. Like, I got stopped. We got quote unquote beat into submission. So if the same thing happens again, unless you're, very, very strong-willed, like, mentally, I feel like his body and his mind might just literally shut down to go into like a self-preservation mode. And he would, rather than him being able to get up from those shots, he'll probably get hit with something that would just, like, his body would just like keep him down. Like, no, we're out, kind of thing. That's kind of how I would see it going. But just to sort of finish off on this and to let you sort of jump in afterwards. It was punch perfect from Terence Crawford from round 1 to round 9. Even after losing the first round, there was no, like, maybe this is going to be a bit tough or anything like that. It was just, he did what he wanted, when he wanted, whenever he wanted. And again, we look at it like I think Spence landed 5 shots, like, to either his head to face for the entire 9 rounds. His defense, like that cross guard defense that he was employing, was immaculate. Again, he was on the inside bullying Spence, like beating Spence to the punch. He was on the outside beating him to the punch, mid range. Like, it was one of the most clinical beatdowns that I've seen. I'm not in the annals of history. I haven't seen everything, but in terms of one-sidedness of even to like, fringe level to like journeyman, I haven't even seen a level like that in a while. So it's one of the most complete performances that I've seen personally, and it was a joy to watch, although maybe a couple rounds too long in some people's opinion. There's a couple questions. Do you want to get to those questions before you have your say, or do you want to all right, so Daniel J. Boateng says, if you guys were Derek James, what would your game plan be to beat Bud? Because I felt DJ got found out just a little bit. What do you reckon? Knowing what you know now.
Well, you got to think about what Errol can do. It was kind of, remember, I said that I thought Errol was going to win the first 2 rounds, and he was winning. Well, he won the first, and he was winning the second round until, as you said, he got greedy and then got caught with the Kovalev 2-1 shot, which put him over. And then I thought Crawford was going to win the third, fourth, fifth, which he did, evidently. But yeah, it was just Errol. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Daniel, I'm gonna not Daniel in the chat. I'm gonna answer you. Look, I don't think there's anything you can do to beat him, because ultimately this comes down to the limitation of his fighter. Like, I don't think Spence can do anything that Bud can't handle. Basically, I don't think he can't launch a shot from the back of the room to like maybe catch him unawares. He can't pivot around him to hit him from angles he's not aware of. He can't bully him on the inside, because he tried that a couple of times and it didn't work. He can't out jab him. He's not faster than him. So ultimately, I don't know. Maybe work on his timing. If he could maybe work on his timing and him be the one to shoot the shot in between the punches, maybe that's how you can maybe get a sort of catch him and get him hurt like that. But I don't know. I literally think there's nothing there. And as the governor said, I think Bud was overly cautious. Maybe he overestimated the danger posed by Spence. And I think maybe he probably did. For okay, let me just not rush into it and get caught by something stupid. Bruce Kai said, question, can Boots beat this version of Spence now? I think so, purely because Boots has got power. He's got movement. He's not good at tracking down movers, but someone that basically stands right in front of you, or that will always be in your wheelhouse and in your space, like Spence is. I feel like he, that is what Boots wants. He looks perfect against those type of opponents. And knowing and seeing what Bud done, all he's gonna do, because remember, even though he's not as good a switch hitter as Bud, he's very good at switch hitting himself. He'll just think, oh, okay, well, so Southpaw is your kryptonite. I'll go Southpaw and fight you from that stance all night as well. But he'll probably switch back when he feels like Spence is hurt. And and because he's naturally, I think he's a bit taller than Spence, or they're the same height. I think he's got a slightly longer reach as well. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like Boots could to cut it short. Bruce, what do you think, Danny?
No, I don't think Boots is quite ready yet, because if we're going back to that 2 fights ago, and even the last fight, the guy wasn't really all that. And yeah, he's not the finished product yet. And as you said, if he does decide to try and switch orthodox, that will play into actual Spence's hands. This is another reason why Bud didn't switch to orthodox, because Spence wanted him to go orthodox, because that's where he'd have been more effective and would have been able to work him better on the inside and found the angles he'd have liked. But with that southpaw stance, it took it away from him. So if Boots tries to do this whole I'm going to switch up on you, going orthodox is the wrong thing to do. It's best if he's tried to stay southpaw all night, like Bud did, because there's a reason why Bud stayed. That's even when he had him hurt, he stayed in that stance, because normally he'd switch over when he has you hurt, but he never did. And that's for a reason, because he didn't want to get caught with a shot. Because let me go into the base of the
go for it. Talk your thing.
For the first round, Errol was landing the jab. It was still a bit tentative, but he was doing it like on a work rate of like, I'm going to win the first round because everyone expects me to win the first round. I know Bud's not going to do nothing, so I'm just going to take this round off him. So blah blah blah. Second round, he came out aggressive. Thought, I'm going to take it to him. I'm going to start doing the break and Spence stuff. Got caught with the 2-1 Kovalev move. Got put down. He looked more embarrassed because he was laughing. Like, rah, what's going on here? And then Crawford went for the finish. The bell went. Third round, Crawford landing the power jab, which was very effective. And remember when on the neutral corner when I was like, Bomac was holding the little drum thing. I was like, that just looked pointless. Like, I don't know what he was doing, but hey, he's got his health problems, so I guess he couldn't really do much. I now know what that was about, because it literally when he had the drum thing, all Crawford was doing was boom, boom, boom. So he was literally just working on that move, that jab, that stiff jab through the middle. Because remember, I thought that the reason why Errol was going to catch him is because Crawford, we've never seen Crawford jab like that before. Crawford normally does that move around flicky jab and then looks for the looping shots. So I thought, as Errol, he likes to kind of do that dip jab, the one which kind of Virgil Hunter teaches fighters. So I thought he was going to come through the middle and land the 1-2s and stuff. And whereas Crawford's going to try and come around the sides and loop, it ended up being Spence ended up having to try and loop his shots when Crawford was coming through the middle. So he kind of used Spence's tactics against him. And then there was a point even in the 5th round where Spence did line up and hit him with the truth punch. So he hit him with the one, boom, and then Crawford didn't even move. And I thought, oh no, he didn't move. So I thought, oh shit. You must have remembered that round, didn't it? Where he landed the slammer and it didn't move him, because I always remember I said if he catches him, we'll see them skinny legs. But Crawford's leg looks solid, because I seen him doing some training where he's running up some kind of different kind of stairs with his team, and I think he even brought him, that mad mountain. I've never seen no one ever do that before. I wouldn't even want to walk up that, let alone run up that. So yeah, his legs look very strong. And yeah, when they got into the clinches, Spence tried to bore in with him early doors. Crawford just braced him off, stiff-armed him NFL style, and just went, huh, and just pushed him off. And then even Errol gave a grin like, oh, okay, you're stronger than I thought you was. But as you said, you know, Nebraska is a wrestling state. They're known for wrestling. Yeah, they're not known for baseball and basketball. And, you know, they've got a few NFL players, but they normally get poached by other states and that. But wrestling, amateur wrestling, but I call it pro wrestling because it is real wrestling. They're known for that. And Crawford, as I've seen him take down his bridges, I've seen him take down big guys. And as we said, you said, you know, people saying he's too big, too strong. I've never said the too big, too strong personally, because you know my motto: there's built for show and there's built to go. And Terence Crawford showed that he is built to go. You see the security the other week.
No, you did say that he was the bigger, stronger man at one point. You did say that. No,
I said, yeah, I thought he was the stronger man.
Okay.
I thought he was the stronger man. I thought because normally, remember, Crawford's normally a man who he doesn't usually use physicality on opponents, does he? He doesn't try to push anyone back and stuff like that. He catches you as you come in, whereas Errol's a man who likes to bore in. So that's why I thought, yeah, the stronger man, he was going to bully him back, because Crawford don't usually use physicality. Well, as he said, he's been doing different kind of training this time, and it worked. 6th round, more of the same. The 7th round, he as Errol came in, he got caught with an uppercut, a lead uppercut, and then as he was going down, he got caught again. But I don't think he was going down anyway. And then the worst one was when he got caught with the double right hook, and he went like scrambling onto the floor, and that's when you knew he was hurt. But yeah, the Jamaican pride, you know, that kept him up. Even in the 9th round when he was gone, and he was like, you could see he was in Queer Street when Harvey Dock jumped in. But as you said, he probably would have got through that round and probably just taken a lashing because of his heart and pride. But yeah, on the night I did say it was a premature stoppage, but you know, I did Appletons and I was heavily invested, so I just wanted him to get through the talk because I needed my money. But you know, it was a fair stoppage and it was the right thing to do, man. So what's he saying?
He says Teddy had a great analogy. He says Spence was like the Terminator model from the first Terminator movie, and Bud was like the shape-shifting T-1000 from Terminator 2. Although the thing is, that analogy doesn't work because the T-100 still won in the end. Spence didn't.
No, yeah, Terminator 2 won in the end. T-1000 got blasted off of the balcony. Yeah.
But I like. Oh, sorry, it was the T-800. I think is the T-800.
T-1000.
No, the T-1000 is a shapeshifter. The T-800 is the first model. But I think they called it. I think it was a T-100 in the first one, and then they changed the name to the T-800 in the second. I remember because that's my favorite film of all time.
Yeah,
the director of Terminator 2.
Yeah, I like T-1000. Terminator 2 and Departed are like my favorite films of all time. So yeah,
but no, one thing though. What was I going to say? Yeah, with you know what? There's a part of this route where I thought, yeah, like Crawford's gonna. Obviously, I've always thought it, but actually, no. I've always been certain. Like I've never. It's just been a feeling. Not something like, oh yeah, like I think Spence is gonna. I've always just been unwavering. But you know, when you was watching the All Access, the very first one, and I saw Spence doing his jog right at the start of the show, like the way he was moving, it's like, no, this brother is moving very, very stiff. Like he looks very stiff and very uncomfortable in that jog. I thought, yeah. Even then, I was like, no, this is gonna be easy work. From then, because I've never seen someone jog like. If you look at it, he literally jogs like his legs don't like they're stuck in place. It's weird. I've never seen it, and I've never seen him move like that before. So I just thought, yeah, this is gonna be easier than I thought it was gonna be.
Where I thought it's looking bad is in the changing room when he was in the wife beat and he was looking up and he had bags under his eyes. I thought, what was going on here? I thought, huh? And then when he was walking to the ring, his face just looked tired. I just thought, this don't look right, man. But I thought he's gonna wake up. Surely, if they slash some water in his face, he's gonna wake up. Then I see in they announced him. He did the whole the man down, scraping his feet across the floor. So I thought, okay, he's woken up now. Maybe he just needed to wake up. But yeah, he had a good first round, and from there, I gave him the first, I gave him the third, and I gave him the seventh. No, sorry, I gave him the eighth, only based on the fact that Terence Crawford didn't really throw a punch in the eighth. So Errol just kind of just took it. But as I wrote on Twitter, I said Errol won the eighth, but it seems that Terence Crawford's just setting him up for a finish, and he finished in the next round, the round which I predicted.
To be totally honest, I still think I literally every round apart from the first, I think Crawford won. He won it off of sharp punching and he won it off of effective punching as well. Even the eighth, he took the round off, but he still outlanded Spence the entire round. So
I don't remember him throwing punches in that round. It's like
watch it again. Watch it again.
Yeah,
I know you don't want to because it's your guy, but like watch it again, and you'll see he actually landed more punches in the eighth round than Spence did.
Well, I bought the pay-per-view, so I've got it on here for the month anyway, so I can watch it as many times as I need.
Yeah, might as well get you £20 worth.
Yeah.
Or you could give it to me. I don't mind. Yeah, I'll take another 20 off you.
You've had enough. You had enough, greedy. So are you coming Poland now?
No, unfortunately not. Even though I did make a nice chunk of change, not just off of you, but off of Bet365 as well.
Yes, I saw that one.
Yeah, I do have some other commitments, and I need also to try and make sure that I've got the expendable funds for some other events that are taking place outside of London, you know, accommodations and rooms and stuff like that. So yeah, if I've got something planned this week, however, and if that comes off, a nice little spare change, then yes, I will. Then I'll hit you up, and we can both go out to Usyk Dubois. But yeah, there's no guarantee on that one just yet.
Okay.
All right, but look, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna close this one off now because I did think it would go around about 2 hours, and we're just under that. And apparently, after 2 hours, the algorithms on YouTube start going a little crazy. So thank you very much for rocking with us, Danny. Give them the socials and everything so that we can put this one to a close.
Yes. So follow me at FightfanTV Live on Instagram, and follow the YouTube channel FightfanTV Live. Check out the Neutral Corner podcast. We will be having a very good guest coming on in the next couple of weeks. Also, I'll be looking to do a couple of StreamYard lives with some guys overseas who will be very interested. You guys will be very pleased to hear about. And follow me on Twitter at Danny Savvy Right. And yeah, that's about it really.
All right, just before I get into mine, Bruce says also we got to give Bud full credit for acknowledging that Spence would have walked through his flick jab, so they changed it to the piston to the power jab, which ultimately won in the fight. Jam Down said Base using Danny's money to upgrade to the Marriott. I mean, you know, when you get the free spoils, that's what you got to do. Is, you know,
the spoils of war. Spoils of war. That's how it goes, man. Yeah. And also, yeah. And as you know, me and Base, we've had our back and forth for years, but it's all very good and sporting. As some of you guys know, saw earlier, one guy tried to jump on Base for celebrating, and you know, I had to check him and put him in his place to let him know, like, calm down, it's not that. But so there's a reason behind all this. Like, relax.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if people are out, if you're outside the circle, sometimes you don't need to be trying to throw your 2 pence in. But hey, it is what it is. I don't mind.
Exit up yourself, as we call it.
Okay, so that's obviously Dani's ticker tapes and stuff. Now I'll put Tony's up as he did pop in briefly. So as you can see, there is like Pugilistboy on Instagram because his main account got shut down, but he's Pugilistboy everywhere else. So Pugilis, no, in IC, sorry, no, it's ISTBOY, all one word, on Twitter and YouTube and all of that good stuff.
And also follow his business at Taylor's Row on Instagram as well, if you're looking for some good bespoke custom made suits for weddings, 9 nights, christenings, big events, you know, banqueting suites, black tie events. So hit him up also on that as well.
I'm gonna add that to the ticker tape for next time. He hasn't put that one up there, but okay, cool. And as for me, obviously it's BaseDaKID, the hardcore casual on YouTube. There you just type in that and it all comes up. On Instagram, BaseDaKID. Don't go on there looking for boxing content. I very rarely post boxing stuff. I don't really post much on there, but it's good to, I use it for my nice visuals. Twitter is B_A_S_E, which is but you can just type in BaseDaKID and I actually start, and I do show up. I think I'm the first one that shows up now, so my metrics must be fairly high. Can't complain. But yeah, if that's where you want to find me, you'll find me there. Videos start again on my channel from tomorrow. Not sure if I'm going to do one tonight to upload first thing in the morning or if I'm going to do one for the evening time, but I got some interesting stuff to talk about. And check out those memberships, because now that we're into the new month, there will be new members only content coming out for the month of August as well. So with that being said, Dani, have you got anything else you'd like to add before we bounce?
Oh yeah, just to let you know that the Fightfantvlive Live, the channel, we're on like 950 subscribers, so we're 50 subscribers away from 1,000. So subscribe, guys. Let's get to that 1,000 so I can get monetized and we can start pushing some more perks. I've already given a prize away for one of the small print paintings by Patrick J. Killian. There will also be things where we do competitions where you can win free pay-per-view for fight nights, where you show us proof that you purchased a pay-per-view and we'll just give you the money back, providing you, you know, enter the competition, do stuff like that. So we'll have all those kind of good stuff. BaseDaKID will also be having, you know, extra perks and stuff like that on his channel. So make sure you subscribe to BaseDaKID, the hardcore casual also.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to both of those, as he says. And you know what? Even though you did lose the week, I might allow you to end the show in your own signature way that I know you're dying to go, and we'll leave it there. So go ahead, give the people what they want.
Yes, guys, it's another episode of The Breakdown. It's BaseDaKID, it's Dani Glover, and remember, persistence beats resistance. You know where it is.
Peace.